am Helena Montez, 35 years old, a senior bank executive walking the sidewalks of New York with the calm of a woman who's learned how to listen to numbers and let them tell her what people hide. And I carry a hidden ambition as careful as a locked vault, a plan that sits behind every smile and every measured gaze, a plan to redraw the rules when the room expects me to stay within them. And the episode that frames this morning begins not with a balance sheet, but with a betrayal that burned hot enough to heat the winter air. A personal wound that I kept stitching shut with cool acts of restraint until I finally decided to stitch it open and seal the thread with justice. A moment when the line between love and ambition blurred into a single sharp edge. The day my past showed up wearing a familiar face. The face of the man who had promised forever and then walked away with my closest confidant. The personal event that frames this episode is simple in memory, yet monstrous in consequence. A man I loved betrayed me in the most intimate way. And the betrayal was not merely against me, but against a person I counted as family, my closest friend who had stood by me when the world whispered that a woman of my color could not rise high enough to touch the kind of glass I aimed for, and my best friend who offered loyalty as a badge rather than a map. Chose to stand with him against the truth I carried like a quiet fire, and I watched as every shared secret between us became a thread the others tugged until the fabric tore. And when the rumor mill spun out the worst of it, I did not scream or beg. I studied. I studied their duet of vanity and fear. I studied their patterns. I studied the moment they thought they had broken me, and I decided they had only given me a clearer target. A sharper blade, a longer view of the chessboard we all pretend to master. The betrayal did not end in a scene of heated heartbreak, but in a cold recognition that if I allowed it to become the backbone of my story, I would become the stereotype the city loves to whisper about, a woman burned by romance who forgets her real purpose. So I learned to keep both worlds in my hands, the personal and the professional, like two watches synchronized so that every second I spent on one did not erase the other, but sharpened it. I began to see my hidden ambition not as a personal hunger, but as a discipline, a way to turn pain into a blueprint for power that could guard every future moment from the kind of wrong that leaves you with a dull ache instead of a plan. The man who betrayed me and the friend who enabled him did not disappear. They simply moved into the background of my life, while I moved everything into the foreground of the corporate theater, where I could decide the terms of their presence, where I could give orders with kindness or with steel, where I could make a single mistake disappear by replacing it with a better system, and where I could turn a wound into a warning that would save others from the same fate. Then the moment comes when I decide we are done with the theater and ready for the reckoning. And that installment of my life is the one where the line between justice and cruelty becomes a soft gray, where mercy whispers at the edges, but the hand of consequence steadies the plot. The man who betrayed me, the one who cheated with my best friend, did not disappear into the shadows. He reappeared in my life in a way that forced me to choose between letting old loyalties rule the room and letting new power reshape it. He lands at my doorstep not with a bouquet, but with a resume, not with a plea, but with a plan to reclaim a place in the story he thought he had left behind. And I see the chance to test my theory that the most effective revenge does not require loud proclamations. It requires control, timing, and a forgiving surface that hides a concrete, unbreakable core. He asks for a job, a chance to prove himself, and I give him a chance that is not a gift, but a test. The interview rooms become a stage for my quiet judgment. The questions I ask, not to learn about his skills alone, but to measure how far his loyalty extends and whether his remorse is real or merely a better script to win back a place in my life? He stumbles on the details of his deception, falters when I press him on the truth behind the laughter we shared with my friend, and I watch as the mask slips just enough to breathe, enough for me to hear the truth he cannot yet admit. And that moment, when the truth sees daylight and the illusion cracks, tells me I have not forgotten how to read a man, nor have I forgotten how to protect what I have built by ensuring only the worthy stand beside me. The job I offer him is a crucible. It is not a gift, but a stage where his capabilities must survive the truth I now hold over him. He will not be spared. He will be measured, and if he falters, the consequences are clear as the glass walls that surround us. He will be reassigned, his reputation quietly trimmed, his access slowly curtailed, until even his own shadow learns to tiptoe around the edges of the empire I have built with bloodless precision and cold, dependable arithmetic. I do not celebrate the moment when I finally place him in a role that tests him with late nights, high stakes, and the kind of scrutiny that makes a man squirm, because the cost is steep and the price exacts a toll on my own spirit. But I can see the growth in his eyes when he realizes I own more than his career. I own the leverage of his loyalty. I own the history of his betrayals. I own the future of his days and nights as they unfold under the careful gaze of my ruthlessly honest performance reviews. And I know that this is the kind of justice that quiets the loudest rumors, the kind that does not need a courtroom to be seen, the kind that reshapes a life with the cold efficiency of a well-managed fund. As the days pass, I orchestrate a sequence of small, precise moves that turn suspicion into reality and reality into accountability. I ask questions he cannot avoid. I present data he cannot dispute. I show him the ledger of his choices, and I allow him to see in real time the cost of every lie he ever spoke to me or about me. The personal betrayal does not fade. It becomes a constant reminder that trust, once broken, cannot be rebuilt in a single moment. But I become not merely a surviving figure in a world that tries to test me, but a map for others who wish to chart a path through betrayal toward a future where power is not a weapon wielded by fear, but a shield forged from wisdom, and a voice that will not be silenced. When the workday finally ends and the city lowers its voice to a softer, more intimate rhythm, I walk clear through the marble corridors and out into the street, where the wind tastes of rain and possibility. The skyline looms like a chorus of unfinished notes, each building a testament to risk endured and lessons learned. And I feel the tremor of a future that will require the same steadiness I have shown here. A future where I do not simply survive the storms, but command the terms of their passing. The man who tried to steal my happiness learns that happiness and power can coexist only when one holds the other in check, and I hold them both, not as weapons, but as tools I will use to shape a new standard of justice, one that gleams in the daylight and does not fear the night. I press my palm to the cool glass of the lobby doors and step into the crowd. And the city, with its careless chatter and its urgent pace, seems to lean in, listening, as if every passerby can hear the quiet vow I utter to the air, that I am not finished yet, that I will not forget how to measure a life, that I will always choose truth and strength over easy fame, and that I will, in the end, have the last word and the first breath. A victory that tastes like iron and rain and something sharper than envy, something that feels like justice served cold. The kind of justice that remains long after the whispers have faded and the doors have closed. The kind of justice that leaves the room itself a little smaller, because a woman stood up and decided to take back what was hers by talent, by risk, by love, and by the quiet courage to do what was necessary, even if it changed everything.